I trusted you with everything, I said, sliding the folder across the table, and you used my identity like it was yours to take. My brother's face went from confusion to shock to fear in 3 seconds flat. He never thought I'd find out, and he definitely never thought I'd confront him in front of our entire family. 6 months earlier, life was normal. Sunday dinner at our parents' house was a tradition none of us missed. The smell of Mom's roast filled the dining room as we gathered around the table that had witnessed 28 years of family meals. Dad was telling one of his work stories that somehow always ended with him being right. Mom was pretending to listen while mentally calculating if there would be enough leftovers for tomorrow. And my brother Michael was late, as usual. He just texted. "He'll be here in 10 minutes, Mom said, checking her phone. Something about traffic. I nodded, helping myself to another roll. Michael was always running late these days. New job, new apartment, new car. He seemed to be doing well for himself, especially considering he'd been struggling financially just a year ago. When he finally arrived, he burst through the door with that energy that always made him the center of attention. "Sorry I'm late. The dealership took forever with the paperwork." "Dealership?" Dad looked up from his plate. "Yeah, check it out." Michael dangled keys with a luxury car logo. "Just picked her up yesterday." Mom clapped her hands together. "That's wonderful, honey. Things must really be going well at the new job." I smiled and congratulated him, but something felt off. Just last Christmas, he'd been asking me for a loan to cover his rent. Now he was driving a car that cost more than I made in a year? "How's the apartment hunting going for you, Jake?" Michael asked, changing the subject while piling food onto his plate. "Still looking," I said, "trying to find something in my price range that isn't a complete disaster." "You should check out West Side Heights. Great neighborhood." "Way out of my budget," I laughed. "You just need to take some risks, little brother. That's always been your problem. Too cautious." I let it go. Michael had always been the risk taker, the charmer, the one who landed on his feet no matter what. I was the responsible one, the planner. Different approaches to life, but we'd always been close despite it. The dinner continued normally, but as I was helping Mom clear the table, my phone buzzed with an email. I glanced at it casually, then froze. "Thank you for your recent credit application with First National Bank." I hadn't applied for any credit. I excused myself and went to the bathroom to read the full message. According to the email, I had applied for a personal loan of $25,000. Just yesterday, the application was under review. My heart raced. Identity theft? I immediately called the bank's fraud department, sitting on the closed toilet lid while the phone rang. "Yes, we have an application submitted yesterday at 3:42 p.m., the representative confirmed after verifying my identity. It was submitted in person at our downtown branch." In person? That meant whoever did this had ID. My wallet was right here in my pocket. My passport was locked in my apartment. What was going on? "Can you tell me anything else about the application?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. The applicant listed their employer as Vertex Technologies. Annual income of $95,000. Purpose of the loan was listed as business investment. I didn't work at Vertex Technologies. I made nowhere near $95,000, and I certainly wasn't investing in any business. "This is fraud," I said. "I didn't submit this application." The representative walked me through placing a fraud alert on my credit and submitting a formal dispute. By the time I returned to the dining room, dessert was being served. Michael was telling a story about his new boss, gesturing with his fork, everyone laughing. I sat down, trying to process what was happening. Should I mention it now? But what if it was just some random identity thief? Why worry everyone until I knew more? Michael caught my eye across the table and smiled. Not his usual smile, something different, something knowing. Then he looked away quickly, too quickly, and laughed too loudly at something Dad said. That night, I couldn't sleep. I pulled my laptop into bed and logged into my credit monitoring service that I'd signed up for years ago after a data breach at work. What I found made my stomach drop. 3 credit inquiries in the past month. 2 new credit cards opened in my name. A personal loan for $15,000 approved 3 weeks ago. None of this was me. I dug deeper. The addresses listed on the new accounts were all my apartment, but the phone number was one I didn't recognize. I Googled it. Nothing. I saved it to my contacts for future reference. The next morning, I called in sick to work and went to the police station to file an identity theft report. The officer was sympathetic, but not particularly hopeful. "These cases are tough to crack," he said. "Usually it's someone overseas using stolen data." But the bank said the person applied in person, I insisted. Could be someone using a fake ID with your information on it. We'll take the report, but you should focus on working with the credit bureaus to clear this up. I left feeling frustrated. On the way home, I stopped at the bank branch where the application had been submitted. The manager was reluctant to help until I showed her the police report. "Let me see what I can find," she said, typing on her computer. "Yes, here it is. The application was submitted to one of our loan officers, Brian Kelly. Let me see if he's available." Brian turned out to be a young guy, probably fresh out of college. When the manager explained the situation, his eyes widened. "Oh, I remember this application," he said. "The gentleman was well-dressed, very confident. He had all the proper identification." "What did he look like?" I asked, already dreading the answer. "Tall, dark hair, blue eyes, about 30, I'd guess. He mentioned he was starting a side business while keeping his day job." My brother. It had to be. We look similar enough that with the right ID, he could easily pass as me. "Do you have security cameras?" I asked. The manager nodded. "We do, but I'd need a court order to release that footage to you." I thanked them and left, adding this information to my mental file. On the way home, my phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello? Mr. Jacob Reeves, this is Sandra from Capital One. We're calling about some unusual activity on your new credit card." "What new credit card?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "The venture card opened in your name last month. There was a $4,000 charge at Best Buy yesterday that triggered our fraud alert." Best Buy. I pulled over and opened the store's website on my phone. If I could find out what was purchased... "Can you tell me what was bought?" "I'm sorry, I don't have that level of detail, just the merchant and amount." After hanging up, I drove straight to the nearest Best Buy. The customer service representative was hesitant, but eventually sympathetic to my story. "If you have the card number, I might be able to look up the transaction," she offered. I called Capital One back, verified my identity again, and got the card number. The Best Buy employee typed it in. Here it is. Purchased yesterday at 2:15 p.m., a 75-inch OLED TV, Sonos surround sound system, and a PlayStation 5. Michael had just moved into a new apartment that would now have a massive TV and sound system. I drove home in a daze, pieces falling into place. The new car, the expensive apartment, the sudden financial turnaround. It was all on my credit. When I got home, I pulled up my credit report again and really studied it. The total damage was over $70,000 across various cards and loans. My pristine credit score had plummeted. The apartment I'd been saving for was now out of reach. The life I'd carefully built was crumbling because my own brother had decided to steal it. I needed proof. Concrete, undeniable proof. I called Michael, keeping my voice casual. "Hey, I'm thinking about getting a new TV. Didn't you just get one? Mind if I come check it out?" Not a good time," he said quickly. "Place is a mess. Still unpacking." "No problem. Maybe next week?" "Yeah, sure. Hey, I gotta go. Meeting starting?" He hung up abruptly. I stared at my phone. Michael didn't hang up on people. Michael loved showing off new things. Michael would normally have invited me over immediately. I spent the next week methodically building my case. I requested documents from all the financial institutions involved. I created a timeline of when each account was opened and when purchases were made. I checked my work schedule against these times to prove I couldn't have been the one applying for these accounts. Then, I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. "I need proof that my brother is using my identity," I told her. "Bank footage, store cameras, anything that shows him pretending to be me." She was efficient and unquestioning. Within days, she had photos of Michael entering and exiting the bank branch where the loan application had been submitted. She had screenshots from Best Buy's security camera showing him purchasing the TV with a credit card. She even had footage of him test driving the car he eventually bought using a loan in my name. "He used your ID but signed the documents himself," she explained, showing me copies that she'd obtained. "The signatures don't match yours." I compared them side by side. She was right. Michael had always been careless about details. Armed with this evidence, I should have gone straight to the police, but I hesitated. This was my brother. Despite everything, I wanted to give him a chance to explain, to make it right. I called him. "We need to talk. It's important. Can it wait until Sunday? I'll see you at Mom and Dad's." "No, it can't wait." Silence on the line. Then, "What's this about, Jake?" "I think you know." Another pause. "Look, if this is about money, I can help you out. Things are going really well for me right now." Yeah, I know exactly how well things are going for you and how you're financing it. The line went quiet again. When he spoke, his voice had changed. Harder, colder. Whatever you think you know, you don't have the full picture. Then explain it to me, in person. Fine, come over tomorrow after work. I hung up, my hands shaking. Part of me had been hoping he would deny everything, that there would be some other explanation. But his response had confirmed it all. The next evening, I drove to Michael's new apartment in the upscale part of town that I could never afford. The building had a doorman and a marble lobby. My brother was doing well for himself. With my credit, his apartment was on the 12th floor. When he opened the door, I immediately saw the massive TV mounted on the wall behind him. My TV, essentially. Nice place, I said, walking past him into the apartment. Nice TV, too. Thanks. He closed the door, watching me carefully. Beer? No. I turned to face him. I know what you've done, Michael, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. Look, I was going to tell you, I just needed some startup capital for my side business. Once it takes off, I'll pay everything back. You won't even notice. I already notice. My credit score has dropped 200 points. I'm getting calls from creditors. I had to file police reports. His eyes widened slightly at that. You went to the police? Of course I did. Someone stole my identity. I'm your brother, he said, as if that explained everything. This isn't stealing, it's borrowing. Borrowing without asking is stealing. Don't be so dramatic. He walked to his kitchen and grabbed a beer for himself. I'll make the payments. You'll never have to worry about it. You've already missed 2 payments on the Capital One card. He waved dismissively. I was waiting for a client payment to clear. It's handled now. I want you to close all these accounts today. He laughed. That would tank your credit even more. The best thing is to let me keep making payments and building your credit back up. The best thing would be if you hadn't committed fraud using my identity. His face hardened. What exactly do you want from me, Jake? I want you to admit what you did to Mom and Dad. I want you to close these accounts. I want you to pay back every cent. That's not happening. He took a long swig of beer. And if you push this, it'll just hurt the family. Mom's blood pressure is already high. Dad's got his heart condition. You really want to stress them out over something so fixable? This isn't fixable. You stole from me. I borrowed, he corrected. And let's be real. What are you going to do? Press charges against your own brother? Turn the family against me? Mom would never forgive you. There it was. The arrogance, the certainty that family ties would protect him from consequences, that I would choose peace over justice. I think we're done here, I said, moving toward the door. Think about what I said, Jake. Family protects family. We don't turn on each other. His voice was confident, almost condescending. I paused at the door. You already turned on me when you stole my identity. As I drove home, his words echoed in my head. Family protects family. But who was protecting me? The next day, I called my parents. I need to talk to you both about something important. Can we meet somewhere private? Is everything okay? Mom asked, concern in her voice. No, it's not, but I'd rather explain in person. You're scaring me, Jake. I'm sorry. It's serious. We agreed to meet at their house that evening. I arrived early, folder of evidence in hand. Mom hugged me at the door, her eyes searching my face. What's going on? Let's sit down, I said. Is Dad home? In his office. I'll get him. We gathered in the living room, the same room where we'd opened Christmas presents and celebrated birthdays for decades. It felt wrong to bring this ugliness into this space, but I had no choice. I've discovered something, I began, opening my folder. Someone has been using my identity to open credit cards and take out loans. Mom gasped. Identity theft? Oh, Jake, that's terrible. Dad leaned forward, frowning. Have you reported it? Yes, I've filed police reports. But I took a deep breath. It's not a stranger. It's Michael. Silence filled the room. Mom's hand went to her throat. Dad's face went blank with shock. That's not possible, Mom finally said. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake. I laid out the evidence one piece at a time. The loan applications, the credit cards, the security footage, the signatures, the timeline, everything. Dad examined each document carefully, his expression growing darker. Mom started crying silently. Why would he do this? She whispered. I confronted him yesterday, I said. He claims he was going to pay it all back, that I would never have known if the payments hadn't been late. And you believed him? Dad asked sharply. No, he's already missed multiple payments. My credit is ruined, and when I asked him to fix it, he basically said I wouldn't dare press charges because it would upset you two. Dad's face flushed with anger. He said what? He's using family as a shield. He thinks I won't pursue this because we're brothers. Mom wiped her tears. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. That's partly why I wanted to talk to you. This affects all of us. Dad stood up abruptly. Call him. Tell him to come over right now. John, Mom started. No, Susan. This needs to be addressed immediately. I called Michael. He sounded annoyed when he answered. What? Mom and Dad want you to come over. Now. A pause. Why? Just come over? Another pause. You told them. Yes. Fuck you, Jake. He hung up. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Michael walked in like he owned the place, but his confidence faltered when he saw the three of us sitting with the evidence spread out on the coffee table. So, Jake's been telling stories, he said, trying to sound casual. Sit down, Dad ordered. Michael sat, his eyes darting between us. This isn't what it looks like. It looks like fraud, Dad said flatly. It looks like you stole your brother's identity to finance a lifestyle you can't afford. I was going to pay it back. When? I asked. You've already missed payments. You've already damaged my credit. When exactly were you planning to make this right? My business is about to take off. I just needed some startup capital. What business? Dad demanded. You work in sales. Michael shifted uncomfortably. A side business, investments. What kind of investments require a 75-inch TV and a luxury car? I asked. Image is important in my industry. I need to look successful to be successful. Mom, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Michael, did you really think this would work? That Jake would never find out? He shrugged. Honestly, no one checks their credit that often. I figured by the time he noticed anything, I'd be in a position to fix it. And if your investments failed? Dad asked. Another shrug. Then I'd figure something else out. The casual way he dismissed the damage he'd done to my life made my blood boil, but I kept my voice steady. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to close every account you opened in my name. You're going to pay back every cent. You're going to write a confession that I can take to the credit bureaus to clear my name. Michael laughed. Or what? Or I press charges, I said simply. You won't do that. We're family. Try me. He looked to our parents for support, but found none. Dad's face was stone. Mom was crying again. This is ridiculous. Michael stood up. I'm not signing anything. And if you try to press charges, it'll be your word against mine. I smiled for the first time that evening. Actually, it won't. I have security footage of you using my ID. I have signature comparisons. I have the phone number you used on the applications. I have geolocation data showing your phone at the bank when the loans were applied for. His face paled slightly. You're bluffing. I hired a private investigator. She was very thorough. You what? He looked genuinely shocked. You spent money investigating me? Best money I ever spent. He ran a hand through his hair, thinking fast. Okay, look, I'll close the accounts, but I can't pay it all back at once. I'll need time. No, Dad interrupted. You'll sell the car. You'll return what you bought. You'll downsize your apartment. You'll do whatever it takes to fix this now. Dad, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. My son committed fraud against his own brother. The reasonable thing would be to let Jake press charges. Michael's confidence finally cracked. You can't be serious? You'd let your own son go to jail? You put yourself in this position, Dad said. Not us. Mom? Michael turned to her, his last hope. She wiped her eyes. I don't know who you are anymore, Michael. The son I raised wouldn't do this. The room fell silent. Michael looked trapped, his usual charm useless against the weight of evidence and family disappointment. I'll fix it, he finally said. Just tell me what you want me to do. We're going to see the family lawyer tomorrow, I said. All of us. He'll draw up a legally binding agreement for repayment and restitution. You'll sign a confession. You'll close all accounts. You'll sell whatever you need to sell to pay this back. And if I don't, then I file charges immediately. He stared at me for a long moment, searching for weakness. Finding none, he nodded once. Fine. The next day, we met at our family lawyer's office. Mr. Harrington had handled our parents' will and various other family matters over the years. He was professional, but clearly shocked by what I was telling him. This is serious, Arbicutus, he said after reviewing the evidence. Identity theft is a felony, family or not. Michael sat slumped in his chair, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. Mr. Harrington drafted an agreement that laid out exactly what Michael needed to do. Close all fraudulent accounts, sell the car and other expensive purchases, pay back every cent with interest, write a confession for the credit bureaus, and stay away from my personal information forever. If you violate any part of this agreement, Mr. Harrington explained, Jake has the right to pursue criminal charges, and with his signed confession, conviction would be almost certain. Michael read through the document slowly. This will ruin me financially. You ruined yourself, I said. This is just cleaning up the mess. He picked up the pen, hesitated, then signed. Over the next month, Michael sold the car, returned what he could, and moved to a cheaper apartment. He emptied his savings to pay back what couldn't be returned or refunded. He closed every account he had opened in my name. It wasn't easy. Sunday dinners became tense, awkward affairs. Mom tried too hard to act like everything was normal. Dad barely spoke to Michael. I kept my distance, focusing on rebuilding my credit and my life. The hardest part wasn't the practical aspects of recovering from identity theft. It was the loss of trust. Every time my phone rang with an unknown number, I tensed, wondering if it was another creditor calling about another account I didn't know about. Every time I checked my credit report, I braced for new surprises. 6 months after that confrontation at the lawyer's office, I was finally approved for a mortgage on a small condo. My credit wasn't fully recovered, but it was improving. I was moving forward. The day I closed on the condo, I received a letter from Michael. Inside was a check for the remainder of what he owed me, along with a handwritten note. Jake, I know saying sorry isn't enough. What I did was unforgivable. I took advantage of your trust and our family bond. I convinced myself it wasn't really stealing because we're brothers. I was wrong. I'm getting help for my issues now. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know, I regret what I did every day. Congratulations on your new place. You deserve it. Michael. I folded the letter and put it away. Maybe someday we'd rebuild our relationship. Maybe not. But I had protected myself without guilt or shame. I had stood up for myself when it would have been easier to let it go for the sake of family peace. That evening, as I sat on the floor of my new condo, eating takeout because I didn't have furniture yet, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Proud of you, son. You handled this with more grace than most would have. Your mother and I are bringing housewarming gifts tomorrow. Love you. I looked around at my empty condo, my fresh start, my life, reclaimed. It wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries. It was about consequences. It was about standing up and saying, this is mine, and you can't take it from me. Michael had been right about one thing. Family protects family. But he'd forgotten that protection has to go both ways. And when it doesn't, sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for yourself and for them, is to hold them accountable. I put down my phone and raised my beer in a silent toast to my empty living room. To new beginnings, to peace without guilt, to the quiet strength it takes to protect yourself from the people who should have protected you.